Hello and welcome. In this video we are going to learn how nested ifs, the if in another if function works in Excel. So let's see what do we mean with nested ifs. Okay, we have prepared a comprehensive one example for our case. So we are going to use some different formulas like VLOOKUP, left in our if functions. But before going deeper in our example, let's see what is a nested if. So for example, let's check if this number is equal to 353. What will I wrote is if this number is equal to 353 and yes if correct and no if not correct. This is a simple if. But for example, I want to make another comparison after making the first check. So for example, I wrote the first comparison, I wrote yes. And after making the check, I want to make another comparison. If this is not correct, the function is going to check the second if, which means I wrote another if function, and let's check this one is equal to 1646. And in this case, second, yes, I wrote. This doesn't mean anything. I just wrote it like this. And I close my second if and I close my first if. Okay. So in the first section, this checks if this cell has 353. And because this is correct, it brings yes as a result, and then function is closed. It doesn't look for this section because this section is a value if false for our first if. However, if this is not correct, let's say this is 354, then this is going to check the second part of our if function. In the second part of if function, we have another if function. So we make another comparison and say that check this cell. If it is 146, write second yes. If it is not, write second no. So it is 146, it writes second yes. If this was, for example, 5, it will write second no. So basically, nested ifs work like this. And now we are going to a more complex example to explain this one. So let's look our case. In our case, we have stock codes and products in 3 different tables. You may have a similar case in your spreadsheet, in your daily business. We have stock codes starting with 1 in this table, and stock codes starting with 2 in this table, and 3 with this table. So you may have these tables on separate sheets, for example. But in the final table, you want to find the product, and stock codes are mixed and then randomly mixed. We don't know which table to write a VLOOKUP. If for example, we had a one table, we would use VLOOKUP. Apparently, we can combine this information, combine this data vertically so that we can write one VLOOKUP, but we want to show you how to make nested ifs and use some other function in it. So let's write our VLOOKUP function, making some logical test. What we are going to use is the first number, first character in our stock code. If the first character is 1, we are going to write VLOOKUP from this table. If it is 2, we are going to write VLOOKUP from this one, and otherwise we are going to write VLOOKUP from this table. So let's start writing our long function. First if, and I am now checking left of this text. You may remember the left function from previous videos. I take the first character is equal to 1, then use this stock code and use this reference table to find the value. Okay, Now I am going to continue, but I want to remind you something. You may remember this one to the left. This value is going to give us a text. Even though this is 1, this doesn't give us a 1 as a numerical value. It gives us 1 as a text value. So in order to convert this, I just multiply this with 1. So if it is 146, for example, now it's going to say, okay, the first character is equal to 1. Or if I don't multiply this with 1, I should write the one like this. So this is text, this is text, or this is numerical, this is numerical, in order to make the logical comparison correct. This is one of the most made mistakes when writing long functions actually. So this was our first comparison, and if this is correct, we will use VLOOKUP. So let's continue. If another if left, oops, I left it like this, sorry, left of this and first value is equal to 2, then we are going to use the lookup by looking at this table. And if this is not equal to 1 or not equal to 2, then obviously it's going to be the last table. So I don't need to write another if. I'm just going to use the last table as a reference. And now I close my VLOOKUP. Now I close the second if, and I close the first if. And see, it brings the bulbs from the third table. Now I copy and paste it to my whole area, and it brings the paper from the second one, it brings the wipers from the third, the television and so on and so forth. So as I mentioned, we can combine all these data into one long list, and we may write one VLOOKUP, but this was only for illustration, only for demo purpose, to explain the nested ifs. So let's check our answer now, and it seems okay. Thanks for watching. In the next video we are going to see how to use match function in Excel. Keep following.